Isaiah chapter 52 and chapter 53. Many Jews do not believe that Yeshua is the Messiah. It's because they have listened to other people's teachings and interpretations of the scriptures. They have not read the scriptures for themselves, nor have they personally researched the matter. I have provided quotes from the Tanakh which highlight who the Messiah is. We will start by looking at Isaiah chapters 52 and 53. These chapters are accepted by the Jewish community as referring to the Messiah. Let's study some of his characteristics. Isaiah 52 and 53, average person. Isaiah prophesied the following: He had no form or beauty, that we should look at him, no charm, that we should find him pleasing. Isaiah chapter 53 verse 2, RJPS. This is what a Jewish author wrote about Jesus in the New Testament. He's just the carpenter's son, and we know Mary, his mother, and his brothers, James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas. Matthew chapter 53 verse 55, New Testament. The man Isaiah prophesied about had no special form or beauty. He was like any other average human being. There was nothing extraordinary about him. He was not particularly handsome, nor was he born into a wealthy family. Isaiah 52 and 53, a man. Isaiah prophesied, He was despised and forsaken of men, a man of pains. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 3, 1917. Isaiah was prophesying about a man, not a nation, and certainly not the nation of Israel, as many rabbis interpret. Isaiah 52 and 53, beaten and rejected. Isaiah saw the man badly beaten. I offered my back to the floggers, and my cheeks to those who tore out my hair. I did not hide my face from insult and spittle. Isaiah chapter 50, verse 6, RJPS. Just as the many were appalled at him, so marred was his appearance, unlike that of man, his form beyond human semblance. Isaiah chapter 52, verse 14, RJPS. This man was beaten to a pulp. The things that happened to him also happened to Jesus. Then Pilate had Jesus flogged with a lead-tipped whip. The soldiers wove a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they put a purple robe on him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they mocked, as they slapped him across the face. John chapter 19, verses 1 to 3, New Testament. Yeshua was beaten, punched, bruised, kicked, slapped, and flogged. His face rubbed in the dirt, and a crown of thorns was forced upon his head. He was severely abused, just as Isaiah prophesied. Isaiah also said, He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 3, 1917. The New Testament says the same about Jesus. He came to his own people, and even they rejected him. John chapter 1, verse 11, New Testament. His own people refers to the Jews because Yeshua was a Jew. Later in the Tanakh, we read how Moses prophesied that the Jews would be wise to listen to this future Messiah. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet from among your own people, like myself. Him you shall heed. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 15, 1985. Isaiah 52 and 53, treated like a criminal. Isaiah recorded, And they made his grave with the wicked, although he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 9, 1917. This man, like Jesus, would be treated like a criminal. He humbled himself in obedience to God and died a criminal's death on a cross. Philippians chapter 2, verse 8, New Testament. The Romans, who ruled over Israel at the time of Jesus, executed criminals. The Jews were prohibited from carrying out capital punishment. Therefore, the Jewish religious leaders brought Jesus to the Roman authorities and said to Pilate, the governor, "We wouldn't have handed him over to you if he weren't a criminal." John chapter 18, verse 30, New Testament. Isaiah 52 and 53, rich man's grave. Isaiah stated, "And they made his grave with the rich his tomb." Isaiah chapter 53, verse 9, 1917. This is fulfilled by Jesus in the New Testament. As evening approached, Joseph, a rich man from Arimathea, who had become a follower of Jesus, went to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. And Pilate issued an order to release it to him. Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a long sheet of clean linen cloth. He placed it in his own new tomb, which had been carved out of the rock. Matthew chapter 27, verses 57 to 60, New Testament. Isaiah 52 and 53 suffered for our sins. Isaiah recorded, "But he was wounded because of our sins, crushed because of our iniquities. He bore the chastisement that made us whole, and by his bruises we were healed." Isaiah chapter 53, verse 5, RJPS. Isaiah prophesied about a human sacrifice for our sins. "We all went astray like sheep, each going his own way, and the Lord visited upon him the guilt of all of us." Isaiah chapter 53, verse 6, 1985. The guilt of our sins was placed upon the Messiah. We should have been punished for our sins, but Isaiah said the Messiah would take the punishment for our sins upon himself. Isaiah made it clear that this man would suffer on our behalf. How else does Isaiah speak about the Messiah? Isaiah prophesied, "He was oppressed, though he humbled himself, and opened not his mouth, as a lamb that is led to the slaughter, and as a sheep that before her shearers is dumb. Yea, he opened not his mouth." Isaiah chapter 53, verse 7, 1917. This is precisely how Yeshua reacted. But when the leading priests and the elders made their accusations against him, Jesus remained silent. Matthew chapter 27, verse 12, New Testament. Key questions. Why did he have to suffer and die for us? Why did he allow himself to be persecuted for our sake? Isaiah stated that this man's death was for us, that he took our sins upon himself and offered himself as a sacrifice to save us from our sins. Isaiah 52 and 53 died for our sins. Isaiah told us, "By oppressive judgment he was taken away. Who could describe his abode? For he was cut off from the land of the living through the sin of my people who deserved the punishment." Isaiah chapter 53, verse 8, RJPS. It was for our sins he died. In the New Testament, we read the fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecy. He was handed over to die because of our sins, and he was raised to life to make us right with God. Romans chapter 4, verse 25, New Testament. He personally carried our sins in his body on the cross so that we can be dead to sin and live for what is right. By his wounds you are healed. Peter, first letter, chapter 2, verse 24, New Testament. Isaiah said the Messiah would make many righteous. Out of his anguish he shall see it. He shall enjoy it to the full through his devotion. My righteous servant makes the many righteous. It is their punishment that he bears. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 11, RJPS. Isaiah declared the Messiah would be a sacrifice not only for the Jews, but for all people. He bared his soul unto death and was numbered with the transgressors. Yet he bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 12, 1917. The writers of the New Testament agree with Isaiah. Christ suffered for our sins once for all time. He never sinned, but he died for sinners to bring you safely home to God. Peter, first letter, chapter 3, verse 18, New Testament. Isaiah 52 and 53, many descendants. Isaiah noted the following paradox. This man would die young and yet have many descendants called offspring. That if he made himself an offering for guilt, he might see offspring and have long life, and that through him the Lord's purpose might prosper. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 10, 1985. The Messiah's descendants are those who believe Yeshua is the sacrifice for our sins.